everywhere. GBS.
A very good evening and thank you for joining us here at GBS News at 9. We do apologize for starting this broadcast late. My name is Stephen George. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Paul Modenge. And now, President William Ruto has today led the country in celebrating the 61st Jamhuri Day at Uhuru Gardens in Nairobi County. The day is always commemorated on every 12th of December as a special day that Kenya got its internal self-governance as Jomo Kenyatta got sworn in as the head of state, becoming the first president of Kenya, as David Karani reports.
Haya, wakati umewadia sasa. Tumkaribishe rais wetu kwa makofi moja.
It is a day that will remain to be pinned to the national calendar as a special day that Kenya gained its internal self-rule after the whites handed over power to the Kenya's first Prime Minister, Honorable Jomo Kenyatta, who was sworn in as the Kenya's first president on the 12th of December 1964, which saw Kenya attain its internal rule.
It is an immense pride that I join you in celebrating the 61st anniversary of our nation's birth. At this pivotal moment, we reflect on the values of our sovereignty and celebrate the enduring legacy of those whose patriotic efforts took down the bastions of imperialism. Their sacrifice set our republic on the path of liberty, unity, peace, enterprise, and democracy.
The day began with the inspection of a ceremonious parade by President William Ruto and the Kenya Army, representing the Kenyan soldiers who rose and fought with determination till the country achieved its internal self-rule after the British soldiers agreed to hand over the country back to the Kenyans.
Karibu! Mheshimiwa Rais, utuongoze.
Leaders who spoke on the podium insisted on the importance of national unity, while some outlined the achievements that the country has made since independence.
As you lead us in the transformation and progress of our country at this moment, we applaud you for realizing that Kenya's progress will be faster if the country is united. Thank you for reaching out to as many stakeholders as possible to bring everyone on the table so that we can all pull in one direction of making sure that our country moves to the next level.
Davis Karani, GBS News, Nairobi.
President William Ruto has launched a scathing attack on critics of his administration, accusing them of spreading fake news to undermine his government's development agenda. Speaking during the Jamhuri at Uhuru Gardens, the president defended his track record, urging Kenyans to focus on facts and reject the growing culture of disinformation in the digital age. Here's the full report.
Under the bright skies of Nairobi's Uhuru Gardens, President William Ruto took center stage during Jamhuri Day celebrations to deliver a passionate defense of his administration against a rising tide of fake news. The head of state hit back at the critics, accusing them of peddling falsehood and distorting facts to sabotage his administration. From Twitter timelines to Facebook feeds, the spread of misinformation has become a thorn in the side of Ruto's administration, fueling public outcry and skepticism. Ruto emphasized that the government's achievements speak for themselves: lower inflation, better farmer productivity, and improved healthcare services.
There is a time to resist and a time to accept, a time to deny and a time to admit, a time to doubt and a time to believe. In the face of undeniable evidence, skepticism must give way to confidence, and we must reject the deceptive embrace of disinformation and fake news. The results and positive impact of our collective pursuit of fundamental economic change can no longer be wished away.
As the debate rages on, one question remains: can the truth cut through the noise of fake news? Or will the digital age continue to blur the lines between fact and fiction? Susan Nganga, GBS News.
Siaya County Commissioner Norbert Komora has challenged the political leaders in the county to support security officers in the war against crime in the area. Addressing the public during this year's Jamhuri Day celebrations held at Siaya KMTC grounds, Komora said that concerted efforts by all stakeholders was required to make the county peaceful, especially during this festive season. He said that the security agents will not allow juvenile gangs and other criminals to terrorize the people. Komora at the same time announced a ban on all disco matanga in the area and called on the county police commander to stop issuance of disco permits in the county. The county commissioner said disco matanga and funeral vigils had turned into dens of immorality and other criminal ills, hence he need to regulate them. Now, addressing the gathering, Siaya Governor James Orengo, in a speech read by Governors CECM Agunda Ochanda, called on Kenyans to appreciate the remarkable role played by the liberation heroes. He said his government was committed to serving Siaya residents, adding that soon they will introduce free lunch in the early childhood development centers.
Ladies and gentlemen, as I go towards the cultural festivals, which are slated for 31st and 1st January, respectively, these activities will celebrate our rich cultural heritage through music, athletics, soccer, boat racing, dance, among many others. As I conclude, Chief Guest, I would like to mention and make a special announcement that on January 25th, we will officially launch our 20,000 capacity ultra-modern stadium. This stadium boasts of a fully fitted tartan rubber track, floodlights, restroom facilities, protective rails and terraces, among others.
Former Kenyan Prime Minister Raila Odinga has arrived in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, ahead of the highly anticipated debate for position of African Union Commission Chair. Odinga, who is vying for the prestigious role, met his key rivals today, including Djibouti's Foreign Affairs Minister Mohamed Ali Yusuf and Madagascar's former Foreign Minister Richard. Now, the candidates gathered to discuss the upcoming debate, which will set the stage for them to share their vision for Africa's future.
Raila Odinga touched down in Addis Ababa this afternoon, joining his fellow contenders for the African Union Commission chairmanship. The trio met at the African Union headquarters, where they were briefed on the rules and protocols for the upcoming debate, which will be aired live across the continent. In an atmosphere filled with anticipation, the candidates Odinga, Yusuf, and Radraman Rato took the time to tour the venue and the stage where they will soon face off. As the debate dubbed Mjadala Africa draws closer, all eyes are on these three candidates as they prepare to present their plans for Africa's future. The event promises to be a crucial moment for the African Union, as the chairmanship will steer the continent's policies for the coming years. Each contender brings their unique perspective to the table, with Odinga known for his political experience and leadership in East Africa, while Yusuf and Radraman Rato have decades of diplomatic experience representing their respective countries. The Mjadala Africa debate is expected to focus on key issues facing Africa, from economic growth and security to climate change and regional integration. Irene Juguna, GBS News.
The Inspector General of the National Police Service, Douglas Kanja, has led a joint security operation in Marsabit County following a tragic incident at the Hilo gold mine, where 6 individuals lost their lives. Despite the government's earlier closure of the site due to security concerns, reports indicate that illegal mining continued in the area, with some individuals allegedly receiving political support. The incident has reignited concerns about safety and regulation of mining operations in the region.
The Inspector General of the National Police Service, Douglas Kanja, led a joint security operation in Marsabit County to assess the security situation at Hilo gold mine following a tragic incident that claimed the lives of 6 individuals. The gold mine, which had been closed due to safety concerns, was under police guard, yet illegal miners had reportedly sneaked into the area. The fatal incident occurred on Monday, December 9th at Hilo, where the victims were engaged in illegal mining activities in a tunnel that collapsed, killing 6 on the spot. Despite the government's suspension of mining activities at the site for safety and security reasons, illegal mining continued, and residents reported that individuals, allegedly with political backing, were still conducting mining operations. The government had previously closed the Dabel mines, including the General Hilo gold mine, in March due to security risks as community factions fought over control of the gold-rich area. In response to the ongoing issues, the government has begun discussions with relevant stakeholders to develop a framework for potentially reopening the mines, but only under proper regulations and licensed operations. Triza Tiengo, GBS News.
Has issued a stern warning to individuals encroaching on public land, vying to take decisive action against land grabbers. Speaking in Nyahururu, Cabinet Secretary for Lands Alice Wahome emphasized that all illegally acquired public land will be reclaimed, regardless of how long it has been occupied. Joy Kuria reports.
At Mangua wetland in Nyahururu, Land Cabinet Secretary Alice Wahome condemned land grabbers, revealing the extent of the vice, which now includes land belonging to critical facilities such as police stations. The Cabinet Secretary, who was leading a tree planting exercise, issued a strong warning to government officials and individuals involved in forging fake title deeds, saying their days are numbered.
Pia ya ardhi. Unaona nimeguzia hapo, nikiongea maneno ya wale wanafikiria wakiona pahali ambaye hakuna mtu, wanafikiria ni ardhi tayari ya kuchukua wewe binafsi. Wewe ukipiga kona, mimi nitapiga kona na wewe. Kama ni mali ya serikali, wachana na mali ya serikali.
In bid to curb land grabbing, CS Wahome highlighted ongoing effort to issue title deeds to public school, directing land registers to expedite the process. She noted that the Ministry of Land is expected to deliver 400,000 title deeds this financial year as per its performance targets. Laikipia County Commissioner Onesmus Carter and Forest Conservator Peter Karioki reaffirmed the government's commitment to environmental conservation. They emphasized the region's effort to combat climate change through tree planting initiative, which align with President William Ruto's plan to plant 15 billion trees by 2032.
Ile tunapanda miti siku ya leo ni riparian area ambayo ni chemichemi ya maji ambayo wakati maji imeflood inabeba mchanga. So ndio maana tunataka kupanda miti katika hiyo belt yote, tuhakikishe tumegrow miti na tumemiti target ile ya president.
Hii kazi tulianza na wewe huko chini na inaendelea. Na vile Washira amesema vizuri ni kwamba tunaona matunda yake. Isipokuwa ni wananchi tu kidogo, wengine wale wako na ng'ombe na mbuzi tunasumbuana nao kidogo, lakini hiyo ni changamoto ambayo tutaitatua.
The officials reported significant progress in Laikipia, with over 37 million trees seedlings planted annually. They urged the public not only to plant trees, but also to nurture them to maturity, contributing to the fight against climate change. With the government now taking firm action, land grabbers have been put on notice, while effort to secure public land and promote environmental conservation continues. Jay Kuria, GBS News.
Kenyan banks have until 2029 to meet a 10 billion shillings minimum capital requirement following the enactment of the Business Laws Amendment Bill signed by President William Ruto. The legislation aimed at fostering financial stability and enhancing regional competitiveness also imposes penalties up to 20 million shillings or 3 times the financial gains for non-compliance, putting pressure on smaller lenders to consolidate or adapt. Here's the story in more.
Commercial banks in Kenya are now expected to have a minimum core capital of 10 billion Kenyan shillings by 2029, or risk a fine of 20 million Kenyan shillings, or 3 times the financial gain from the breach. This is after President William Ruto signed into law the Business Law Amendment Bill that amended various laws including the Banking Act Cap 488, the Central Bank of Kenya Act Cap 491, and the Microfinance Act Cap 493C. Ruto said the new law will lead to mergers, create stronger financial institutions, and enhance regional influence. Similar sentiments were shared by the Central Bank of Kenya Governor Kamau Thuge last week. This is the second attempt in a decade to increase capital requirement after a similar proposal in 2015 to raise the minimum threshold to 5 billion Kenyan shillings was rejected by the parliament. Kenya's 1 billion Kenyan shillings minimum requirement, in place since 2012, 12 standards set by other African countries. South Africa mandates 11.5 billion Kenyan shillings, while Nigeria 43 billion Kenyan shillings, and Egypt 13.4 billion Kenyan shillings. In other business updates, coffee drinkers may soon see their morning treat get more expensive as the price of coffee on the international commodity market hit its highest level on the record. On Tuesday, the price of Arabica beans, which account for the highest global production, topped $3.44 a pound, having jumped more than 80% this year. The cost of Robusta beans, meanwhile, hit a fresh high in September. It comes as coffee traders expect crops to shrink after the world's 2 largest producers, Brazil and Vietnam, were hit by bad weather, and the drink's popularity continues to grow. While in recent years, major coffee roasters have been able to absorb price hikes to keep their customers happy and maintain market share, according to experts, it looks like it's about to change. The last record high for coffee was set in 1977 after unusual snowfall devastated plantations in Brazil. Hilary Kabila, GBS News.
Farmers across the UK, including hundreds from Wales, have gathered in Westminster to protest against the government's new inheritance tax policy. The changes set to take place effect in 2026 have sparked widespread concern over the future of family farms, with many fearing they will have to sell off land to meet tax bills.
The UK government's new inheritance tax plans have struck fear and anger into farming communities. Under the policy announced by Chancellor Raka Reeves, farms value over $1 million will face a 20% inheritance tax payable over 10 years. Farmers argue the tax threatens not only their livelihoods, but also entire rural economies. Local businesses that depend on agriculture, such as feed merchants, mechanics, and equipment suppliers, could also face economic strain if farms were sold or downsized. The government, however, insists the vast majority of farms will remain unaffected. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer reiterated at the G20 summit that the tax only applied to farms exceeding $3 million threshold, with payments staggered over a decade. Treasury estimates suggest around 500 estates will be impacted annually. These reassurances, farming unions and advisors remain unconvinced. Data from DEFRA indicates that up to 2/3 of farms could potentially be impacted. Rural affairs experts are also highlighting a lack of clarity and understanding about the tax's true scope. As protesters in Westminster continues, the government remains firm that the policy is a fair and balanced approach to support public services. But for the farming families who see their livelihoods at risk, the fight to safeguard their future has only just begun. Joy Kuria, GBS News.
Many thanks for joining this live broadcast. We have a lot lined up for you. We are taking a short break. We'll be right back.
So through the 4 gospel books, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, John, we can know the heart of Jesus in depth.
그리고 우리가 느끼는 그 예수님을 성경을 느낄 수 있어서 너무 감사합니다.
And the Jesus that we can feel him through the scriptures, and I'm very thankful about that. Jesus Christ came to this earth for our sins.
지셨고,
he carried our sins.
십자가에 못 박혀 죽어 죄의 형벌을 당하셨고,
and he was crucified and he received the punishment for sins.
무덤에 들어가셨다가,
and he was put into the tomb.
사흘 만에 부활하셨습니다.
and resurrected in 3 days.
이것이 우리가 말하는 복음입니다.
This is the gospel that we speak.
예수님께 우리 죄를 위해 죽으신 이야기.
About how Jesus died for our sins. The purpose of Jesus being
우리
crucified.
죄를 담당하기 위하여 십자가에 못 박혀 죽으셨습니다.
He was crucified to pay for our
그래서
sins.
예수 십자가에 못 박혀 죽으심으로 우리 죄가 분명히 씻어졌는데
And through Jesus being crucified, clearly our sins have been washed clean.
참 안타깝게도 많은 사람은 여전히 죄인이라고 말합니다.
However, unfortunately, many people still say that they are sinners.
Hello everyone! Welcome to Fun. And the hyenas were there. They wanted to snatch the baby and tear that baby in pieces and eat.
Today, we're going to make a cactus in a pot. Hey, you, hold on. Are you biting your thumb at me?
I love my mommy. I love my mommy. Yes, I do.
Are you going to show love to your friend? Sure, you are going to do that. Friends, until next time, bye!
Everywhere. GBS.
And welcome back now to the international news. In a bold move to combat the world's highest malaria burden, Nigeria has launched a nationwide malaria vaccination program. The initiatives aim to curb the staggering toll of the mosquito-borne disease, which killed approximately 200,000 people last year. The first phase of the program is being rolled out in Valencia State, which has one of the country's highest malaria infection rates.
In a groundbreaking effort to fight malaria, Nigeria has begun implementing a malaria vaccination program aimed at protecting its most vulnerable populations, particularly young children. The vaccine, scheduled targets infants, starting with the first dose at 5 months, and aims to significantly reduce the number of malaria-related deaths in the country. Valencia State, located in Nigeria's southern region, is one of the first areas to receive the vaccination as part of the program's rollout. The state has one of the highest malaria infection rates in the country, making it a key focus for the initiative. Valencia State's Commissioner for Health, Professor Seifa Brisibe, highlighted the gravity of the situation, stating that malaria accounts for about 30% of deaths in children under 5 in the region and is a major factor in keeping many adults out of work, both mothers and fathers.
Malaria here, the prevalence is high. And of course, it accounts for about 30% of deaths under 5 children. And it also accounts for a good number of reasons why both adults, mothers, and fathers stay out of job.
Despite early successes in Valencia, the state is dealing with misconception and misinformation surrounding the vaccine. Professor Brisibe pointed out that some communities, influenced by religious leaders, have expressed doubts about the vaccine, including unfounded claims that it causes infertility. The Nigerian government is working diligently to combat these misconceptions, ensuring that the life-saving benefits of the malaria vaccine reach those most in need. As the program expands, officials are optimistic that it will play a crucial role in reducing malaria-related deaths and improving the health of Nigeria's children, women, and vulnerable populations. With continued public education and support, Nigeria hopes to make significant strides in overcoming the devastating effects of malaria and ultimately eradicate it. Irene Juguna, GBS News.
South Korean police attempted to search President Yoon's office on Wednesday as part of an investigation into the controversial martial law declaration on December the 3rd. The raid is part of a growing inquiry into Yoon's role in the decision, which has led to a constitutional crisis in the country. The police were unable to enter the main building due to disagreement over search methods. Today, President Yoon made a rare televised speech saying he will fight till the end. Abdi Hamid Ali has more.
The investigation centers on President Yoon, who is accused of ordering military intervention to prevent lawmakers from voting on the rejection of martial law, an act that could be seen as an insurrection. Key figures, including former Defense Minister Kim Yong-yun, was arrested, and yesterday reports emerged he tried to commit suicide while in custody. It is confirmed he is in stable condition. The National Police Chief and the head of Seoul Metropolitan Police have been arrested in connection with the case. Yesterday, police raided President Yoon's office, but authorities did not enter the main building. President Yoon was not in the building during the raid. Yoon was not seen in public since last Saturday when he apologized to the nation regarding the declaration of martial law. Today, he made a rare televised speech. His defiant tone garnered headlines around the world.
I earnestly plead with you to come together to defend South Korea and our democracy, which has been defended with blood and sweat. I will fight until the end.
As calls for Yoon's impeachment intensify, the Democratic Party has proposed a new bill to remove him from the office, pending a vote this Saturday. The situation remains tense, with many questioning the future of South Korea's leadership and its democratic institutions. This crisis raises important questions about the balance of power and accountability. Can a country truly move forward if its leadership is embroiled in such controversy? South Korea is at a crossroads where decisions made today will determine its political stability tomorrow. Whether this situation leads to further unrest or a resolution will depend on how those in power respond to the call of justice and the preservation of democracy. This is Abdi Hamid Ali, GBS News.
Following the downfall of Bashar al-Assad's regime, many European countries are halting and pausing asylum applications for Syrian refugees who fled to Europe during the Syrian civil war. Some European countries are planning to deport Syrian refugees. However, the European Union asserts that Syria is still unstable and unsafe for refugees to return to their homeland, with the status of its security highly unpredictable. Here is more on the scene.
Syrian refugees around the world are celebrating in jubilation following the fall of the Assad regime. In the wake of the Syrian president's downfall, multiple European countries have decided to pause asylum applications for Syrian nationals. This includes suspending both new claims and those already in progress. Germany, which has taken in over 1 million refugees, has announced a freeze on processing 47,770 asylum applications. The United Nations estimates that more than 7.4 million Syrians remain displaced, with millions having sought refuge in neighboring countries and Europe. Some Syrian refugees are feeling skeptical about going back to Syria immediately.
I don't know. You need me here in Germany. And I also think about my people. They also need me back home. Here in Germany, there are enough skilled workers. In Syria, really, the country has to start from the scratch. I don't know.
Countries like Denmark, which has long argued that Syria is safe, are also pushing for stricter asylum policies. They plan to deport Syrians regardless of whether they've been granted asylum. Nations including Norway, Belgium and Italy have followed suit. Stefan Kotter, a far-right German politician, had this to say.
We have to think what to do right now. We want to get, let's say, rid of these people. We want to send them home. We want to help them live in their country, to rebuild their homes, their country. And we want the qualified people like medical doctors going home. Syria needs these people right now.
Germany has offered 8 million euros in rebuilding Syria. Germany's foreign minister urged Syria's neighboring countries to maintain territorial integrity as a way to stabilize Syria.
If we want a peaceful Syria, the country's territorial integrity must not be put into question. I will say just as clearly, neighbors such as the Turkish and the Israeli governments, which claim security interests, must not endanger the process with their actions. A civilian government accepted by all sides can only be achieved if all minorities and political groups sit at the table where they can present their demands. This will be a long and probably rocky way.
The European Union continues to assert that Syria remains unsafe for returnees, emphasizing that people fleeing the country are still in need of international protection. These conflicting policies illustrates the complex debate surrounding the future of refugee assistance in Europe. Meanwhile, in Turkey, home to more than 3 million Syrian refugees, some refugees are lining back in border crossing to return back to their homeland. As the situation in Syria evolves, Europe faces a challenging dilemma. While some nations take steps to close their borders, others struggle to balance their humanitarian obligations with security concerns. The question remains, can Europe continue to uphold its commitment to offering asylum, or will changing political realities force a retreat from its past policies? This is Abdihamid Ali, GBS News.
After the collapse of Syria's long-standing regime, one woman's heartbreaking search for her missing relative highlights the deep horrors of the country's notorious prison system. Hayat al-Turki, desperate to find her brother and 5 other family members believed to be held in Sidna prison, has spent days searching the facility in hopes of learning their fate, while the newly appointed Prime Minister Mohammed al-Bashir stated that he plans to rebuild Syria even though it will be a challenging endeavor. Here is more on the scene.
In an unprecedented move, Trump invited Chinese President Xi Jinping to his inauguration, scheduled on January 20th. If accepted, it will be unprecedented for a Chinese leader to attend a U.S. presidential inauguration, given the tense geopolitical rift between the two countries. As Trump prepares to take office, he has appointed several officials who are known for their tough stance on China. Among them is Senator Marco Rubio, whom Trump has chosen to serve as Secretary of State. The president-elect has also expressed plans to impose a 10% tariff on Chinese goods unless Beijing takes a stronger action to curb fentanyl trafficking. This move follows earlier campaign promises to raise tariff on Chinese imports by as much as 60%. In response, China has warned that such actions could lead to a trade war that will harm both economies. The invitation to President Xi highlights the complex and evolving dynamics between the two nations. While both nations have expressed a desire for cooperation, tensions remain high, particularly over trade issues. The response to Trump's invitation may offer further insight into how this new phase of diplomatic relations will unfold. This is Abdihamid Ali, GBS News.
Do keep your comments coming in through our SMS line 21144 and GBS TV Africa in all our social media handles. And now, for the sport lovers, it is time for us to get sporty. The Kenya national women's football team, Harambee Starlets, is set to begin their 2026 Women's Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers campaign with an opening round clash against Tunisia. The draw conducted by the CAF on Thursday, the 12th of December 2024, in Cairo, Egypt, paves way for 38 teams from Africa to compete for the prestigious 12th spot in the continental showpiece. The qualifiers are set to occur in 2 rounds, where the first round is scheduled for the 17th to 26th of February 2025, while the second round will take place from the 20th of October in 2025. If Kenya progresses to the second round, they will face the winner of the encounter between Niger and Gambia, which is a crucial step towards securing their ticket. The Bedline Odemba coach side will be determined to make their long-awaited return to the tournament, having last participated in WAFCON in 2016. Kenya missed the last WAFCON in Morocco following their loss in Botswana in the final round of the Women's Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers on the 5th of December last year. Well, That sports news brings us to the end of our news segment tonight here at GBS News at 9. We make your news our business. My name is Stephen George. Our sign language interpreter tonight has been Paul Madenge. Good night.
Everywhere, GBS.